Are you looking for great golf instruction here in Florida? Today we had Dan Malizia, my golf instructor, here in the podcast room to give us some helpful hints to improve that game. So stay tuned and we'll talk to Dan Malizia. Welcome to Sarasota Florida Living Podcast, where we help you understand everything Sarasota and the surrounding areas. On this podcast, we interview local businesses and experts to help you find the best people to work with for any of your needs. So sit back and enjoy meeting these wonderful people that help make Sarasota such a wonderful place to live. So welcome to Sarasota Florida Living, where we teach you everything Sarasota and surrounding areas. Today we have Dan Malizia in with us, my golf instructor. Dan saw me hitting driving range one day, and he goes, you might need some help with that. So,
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what I heard, because I go, hey, can I help you? And that's what I heard, and I was like, hey, you suck. No, I was kidding. No, but it was fun because it really helped out, because we just got playing with Corey and some friends, and I was out there hacking it. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do this thing. So, So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We interview local businesses, make sure people know the best people to work with, and you've changed my game. So I went worse, and then all of a sudden got better real quick, which you warned me it would happen.
That happens. That happens.
So how'd you get give us a little bit about yourself. I mean, I know you have an extensive career we talked about.
Right.
So,
well, I was a head professional or director of golf for about 30 years. And I got to the point where I always taught a lot. I think I've told you, I was out on the tour for several years with Mac O'Grady. And as it turned out, after about 30 years, and I was really interested in just teaching. Yeah. And so I had the opportunity to do that. It was the right time to do it. So I left my club over in Palm Beach and started teaching at a number of different places. And so I've landed here at Saranoa, here in Sarasota.
Yep.
And I also teach in Boca Raton. So it's been great. It's been great. I stay busy, and you keep me busy, so that's good.
You got some miles on going back and forth. It's like I'm coming back from Boca, but now you're recently getting married soon, aren't you?
I am. My fiance Lori lives in Vero Beach, so I'm going to make that 3-hour drive tomorrow.
Nice. Nice. That's
right,
good.
Right.
So, so when we started, when you started helping me out, it was interesting because I was over at Saranoa hitting some balls, and he came up and said, "Hey, can I help you with something?" And I was like, in my mind, I knew that I needed something, and I was a little skeptical. I was like, yeah, I know I need it, but can I commit?
Right.
And then you just took the time with me, gave me like 20 minutes, and just said, these are a couple things you can play with. And then I was like, well, I need to run a little more on it. So, and then we kind of booked it up, and it's been amazing. I mean, it really is. It's changed the way I look at golf. It's changed the way that I practice.
Right.
And what's nice about the way Dan does his stuff is every time you do a lesson with him, he'll give you a couple video shots. So every time I go out to play golf on Sunday, I go back and look at the stuff you sent me, and I say, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that.
You're the one.
Yeah, I'm the one. And it's crazy. And the guy's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm just checking something, and they're waiting for me to tee off, and I'm still checking what I'm supposed to do. So it really helps out. It's amazing. So, so what got you into, driving back and forth? Is it just because your fiance lives over there, or is it just? Well,
even before I met my fiance, I was teaching over in Boca. I was over in that area for a long time, so I have a lot of students that I taught over there. They're not going to make the 3-hour drive from Palm Beach area to Sarasota, so I started making it. I go over, visit friends on Friday night,
right.
Teach on Saturday, sometimes on Sunday, and then drive back. A lot of audio books, but driving back and forth. But it's not bad.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's nice to see everybody when I go over.
Yeah, I bet. So now, do you have a home here in Sarasota? Or
I don't. No, I'm in this transition, obviously. So I spend a lot of time in Vero, probably three days a week in the summertime because it's slower. We get to the wintertime, the expectation is Lori's going to move over here. So I won't have the drive.
And you still probably go back and forth once in a while because you're clients and stuff you want to work with. Now, is there a specific, I'm kind of going to get into golf a little bit since you like I said, you changed the way I kind of look at golf because, I never quite understood the swing. I could always get by. Is there something like that every basic, like just beginning golfer should know? Like, is there two of the main problems that people have, maybe, I guess?
Well, I think the first one is, and you and I have spoken about this several times, and you've heard me ad nauseum talk to other people about it, is people don't really understand why the ball flies where it does. Okay. So when I have a student, first thing I say is, where's your bad shot go? Where does the ball go? Then they start telling me about their hips and their shoulders. I said, okay. I said, but I want to know where the ball goes. So there's a definite relationship by where the ball goes. As a quick example, the initial direction of the ball is determined by the face. Now, 50% of the people will say the path. So understanding if the ball starts to the right, the face is aiming to the right. Obviously, if it starts left, it's aiming to the left. And if it goes straight,
right,
obviously the face is aiming at it. The ball curves when the face and the path don't match up. And there's a lot more to it than that. But I always start there. And even when I play, if I hit a poor shot, my first thought in my mind is, okay, ball started to the right, face is open, but it over curved. Okay, why is it doing that? Then I go to my body.
Right.
What in my swing am I doing incorrectly to create a ball flight that isn't what I want?
Right.
I think the second thing is that folks have a feel. The game is really a game of geometry.
Right.
Okay, it's my job to know the geometry, as you know.
Yep.
But it's played by feel. So I use a lot of passive barriers, as you well know.
Yes.
To give you the feel, so you're not commanding yourself so much as you're kind of even closing your eyes and feeling where to go. And so I think that the variance between what people think they're doing and what they are doing is tremendous.
Right.
And that's where the video comes in.
Yeah.
The fact that you can see it, you really can't wiggle out of it.
Right.
There it is. And as you well know, I use in my lessons, I use a lot of video before, during, after.
Yeah.
And then that evening I send a video, kind of a comparison between the beginning and the end of the lesson, and then voice over that. So you have the instruction.
And that's something important. And I've realized that when we have our agents here in real estate and everything else, is the feedback that you give is like amazing, because it's not just like you hear it once, right? You hear it in the lesson, and then we talk about it after the lesson, and then you reiterate it. And in the evening, I go, oh, yeah, because you can forget what I said just getting into my car. And then I can just play that over and over again. So that is something different than I've ever had in lessons. So that makes a huge difference. Obviously, you know how to teach, and you've taken a lot of games. And going back to kind of what you said, what you just said is exactly how you treated me in the beginning. You said, okay, let's go back to a very basic short swing first, and then you start building out from there. And now you have my backswing working, but now I just got to get my front going.
And that's normal. The golf swing is really, as I said, it's a geometry game, but it's also a sequential game. So I use the analogy of dominoes. If you set up well, that's the first domino.
Right.
Backswing is the second domino. Third domino is obviously the downswing, and the follow through is the fifth domino.
Right.
There's some other things in there, weight distribution and some other items. But if you're not set up well, okay, and that's where we start.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you turn my shoulder in like that, that changed everything in like a day.
And that goes back to exactly what I said. Your feeling of what you think you're doing and what you are doing is very different. And that's the example we're just talking about, alignment, is maybe the biggest challenge to get people to stick with, because it feels so awkward, but it produces so much. But the results are so much better. It's worth the doing, for sure.
And you reiterated that to me, so you're like, man, you hit great on the driving range. Just look on the golf course, and now all of a sudden it's a different game because I treated it different. I was aiming in the wrong direction. My shoulder was aimed, but my club was aimed different. So I was amazing on the driving range, and then you go, how'd you score last week? 102. 102. Right. You should be shooting 80s.
You should.
And and then, but like just the last lesson we just had a couple days ago, all that time on the course is again, another enlightenment to me that, I didn't realize I was even doing,
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a difficulty taking the game from the range to the golf course. So there's some parts, some details there that you and I've talked about. But I just, as I was saying, I had a fellow that called me in a panic the other day, and he had a 2-day event, or has a 2-day event, and he was in a panic. And I went over, made a few adjustments. I said, say to yourself the exact same thing on the golf course as you do on the range.
Right.
And after 1 day, he's leading the tournament. Now, he's had 2 days to think about it, so who knows, right?
Right.
But I think that's really important that you have the same, and people use routine. I like, and I've said it to you, I say, where's your target? And it's a trick question.
Sure.
The target is always the ball.
Right.
If you aim at the target on the golf course, be it the center of the green or the fairway, if you get the face aim there, the game is really played in the periphery.
Right.
So if you look down at the ball and you just hit the ball as it sits in front of you, you're going to get a good result.
Right.
We all go from being ball-centric on the range to green-centric, fairway-centric on the golf course.
Yeah, saying that now just remind me, it's the same thing you hit me with out there, because you taught me the ball, and then you say, where are you aiming? And I go out and change I said, well, I'm aiming for there. He goes, no, you're still aiming for the ball. That's where your club is going. But, I think that's important, because, if I'm going to go out and play with the guys, I can't express how important it is to get lessons. If you take it serious, if you're just going to have beers and you don't care.
I agree.
Well, of course. But it's just amazing how I look at the game different, because I played for years, and I owned some businesses, took 10 or 12 years off, just didn't touch a club.
Right.
Started playing with the guys again. And, the first couple of days are fun. You have a beer, and then you go out. Now we're not drinking beer. We're getting more serious. And then it's frustrating, so, all difference in the world. So, but we have the information on how to get a hold of you. But you have an Instagram too, right?
I do.
So can you explain how you use your Instagram?
Well, very similar to what we talked about. Now, I send you your videos. I'll use Dan as the example.
Right.
I send you your videos, and then if there's something that sparks where I say, people want to see this.
Right.
This is the difference. So I'll use the first swing of yours, and I'll say, this gentleman, I don't use names, obviously, but I do the comparison between the first swing and the last swing to show the change, and more importantly, how did we make the change? So you hear me voicing over that change. And I also do some 3-minute discussions. I just did one the other day that I just put on there.
Right.
But my Instagram has been very popular. I'm looking. I want to get followers on there, because not only obviously it's good for my teaching business.
Sure.
But I think sharing the information. I think you're on there at least twice.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 times, and I think
one not so good and one good.
Yeah. Hey, I don't mind being the bad guy, because but that's the other side, because I was saying how important it was to me to see that video you send me, and but then I go on your Instagram, and the reason you're putting it up there is because it happens probably to a lot of players.
Sure.
So you'll show me a guy that's shooting in his 80s,
right,
with the same problem I have on just one part of my swing.
Right.
So I can go back and review those and everything else. So it's important. What's the? I don't know if I.
It's on Instagram. It's Dan Malizia.
Okay.
DanMalizia golf. That's my email address. People can reach me on all those.
Okay.
That's very simple. You feel free to call or to send me an email. But on Instagram, it is my name, DanMalizia Golf, GOLF, and you can follow it. And I think it's real worthwhile. And I also have a Google business page under the same. If you go to Google, put DanMalizia Golf. It's DanMalizia Golf Instruction, Sarasota.
Okay, and I'll put the links in the in the YouTube channel we have. Now, do you have YouTube?
I do not. I'm let's say a late comer to social media.
Yeah.
So, but it's been very powerful. I have all your friends comment on your videos,
right,
and vice versa. By the way. But a lot of folks really get a lot out of watching them.
Right.
I know one gentleman in particular was on my Google page, And, everyone's very nice, very complimentary with the reviews and so forth. But he said, when I heard what you were saying, I could see the step-by-step progression and the logical way it's being approached.
Right. And that's what I love about what you've done for me is you've broke it down to like simple steps, not to try to overread it. And one of the things I think that you mentioned to me is like, I love YouTube because when people go watch YouTube, they're going to try to do all the things that they try to create things out of other people's YouTube channels.
I love it.
And the first thing I come up to is like, so on YouTube, he goes, oh yes, come on up here, Dan. And because there's so many different, versions and not trained and doing the things. So maybe that's why you do Instagram and we'll get YouTube going. But gosh, I was going to say something there about what the visualizing. So one of the things I always remember is when I try to explain to you when something happened, and then I'm just saying this happened, and you say, I'm turning my back. You got to explain it better,
That is true.
Because that makes me think about a lot of my game even too, because when I'm trying to explain to myself, I'm like, I just did this. I was like, no, the ball just did this and this, so forth. Because you do it to me all the time. You're like,
yeah, I try not to be rude about it, but unfortunately, people use the word "it" when they talk about the golf swing.
Right.
I think I take it too far inside, and I do a lot of teaching out of I teach a young lady who went from a beginner at 11 years old and she became a college All-American, but she lives in Baltimore.
Wow.
And so I flew up there a fair amount, but they sent me videos every week, and I do basically the exact same thing.
Right.
But I teach a number of people in New York, some people in Chicago, and a lot of my former members and members from here or golfers from here that I teach are up north, and they send me videos, and we kind of do it remotely.
Makes sense.
But you have to be able to articulate what it is you're working on, and sometimes it's difficult to get folks to tell you. So the joke is, I said, I'm turning my back on you.
Yeah.
I can't, that way you can't show me.
Well, it forces me to think too, because, when you ask me a lot of times, is why'd you do that? And then I have to stop and think like, okay, well, he said this happens. And so, I do that a lot more now than I ever did. I always analyze a shot now. And one of the things you explained to me what the pros do, if they're, I think you said it was like 15 yards off center either way.
Wedge,
they don't care. But then anything outside of that, they have to sit back and look at what happened.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Professionals play in what I call a wedge. Mm-hmm. So let's use the center of the green. The flag sticks in the center of the green.
Right.
So if they have a ball that curves right to left, which is a draw, their goal is maybe we'll use a 6-iron. If they land on the right side of the green or anywhere towards the hole in that wedge between the edge of the green we'll use and the hole, they're fine.
Right.
If they hit it beyond the hole to the left or they hit it in the right bunker, you'll see them immediately step backwards and they're looking. Because the first thing they're looking at is the first domino, which is, did I aim there?
Right.
Because that's a simple answer.
Well, you changed me there a lot. So.
Yeah, that's a simple answer. So that's the way good players play. Mm-hmm. They're not expecting to hit, a 5-iron 2 feet away from the hole all the time.
Right.
Now their tolerance level is a lot tighter than yours is,
right,
and tighter than mine is.
Yeah, maybe mine is 30 yards.
Yeah, maybe
20 yards.
If you get it in the fairway, on the right edge of the fairway or in the center of the fairway, you're very happy.
Absolutely.
Even the light rough is okay.
Yeah.
All right, but a tour player's looking to hit it in the middle third. Mm-hmm. That's the way they're looking at it. So, that's an important way to look at it. You're looking for a repeating ball flight. That's the whole goal. That's the end.
Right.
That's the end. Everything we do is a means to that end.
Right. The other thing you changed a lot in what I do, and I'm sure a lot of golfers have the same thing, is when you started helping me from wedge to the longer irons to the driver, I was set up totally different for the driver. Right. And you're like, this is the same swing, different club. And so I was putting the ball like maybe 6 inches in front of my foot just so I could swing it up. And I was trying to hit this up like that. And you're like, no wonder you're having troubles. You got one swing and you just got to add it to your club.
Right. And there's a couple factors there. Number one, the ball position with the driver is just about an inch, maybe an inch and a half more forward.
Right.
Now, a lot of us, as we age, when we set up with the driver, our body gets aimed to the left or open. And it doesn't do it necessarily with the shorter clubs. So oftentimes you have to make an adjustment to your setup position. Aim your body kind of, if you said the center of the fairway is 12 o'clock,
right,
you aim your shoulders and your feet and your hips at 1 o'clock.
Right.
Okay. And it's just because as we age, a right-handed golfer tends to get a little bit stiffer on the right-hand side. And so that's really the only adjustment. And for those of us that think you swing up on a driver, God bless you, but that doesn't happen.
That's not.
Okay, tour players hit down on a driver about 1 degree. Now, it's not much, but it's a significant difference than trying to swing up on it.
Right. And it's funny, you can go to YouTube, and I say at least 30% of the people instructing you is put it up and swing up. So, but that was a big change in my mind. I mean, it changed the way I even looked at the driver, because I was just say, forget it. I'm just going to hit an iron off the tee, and I'm happy to get 200 yards, and I'm good.
Well, a lot of people forget also that one of the things is side spin. If they say, oh, I hit my short irons well, but I sliced the driver. Well, they have the same mistake. You just don't see it. And the reason is the pitching wedge has a lot of loft and a short shaft.
Yeah.
And the ball has more backspin than it does side spin.
Right.
Well, you go to the driver, and it's got 10 degrees of loft, and it's 45 inches long or 46 inches long. All those things exponentially increase the side spin.
Right.
So most times people don't hit their driver differently than the other clubs. They're just seeing the mistake more readily as the club gets longer and the loft comes off.
And that's why you started me on the short.
Yeah.
Short,
exactly.
I mean, swing, a quarter of the way back, and then just start extending and just keep it in realm. So I know you always have a lot of good stories for us. Is there anyone that sticks out that we should know about that you won't get in trouble for? Or some of the tour pros. He always has some cool experiences with different tour pros, and you probably don't want to mention names, but I know you made some differences in some pros.
Yeah.
Is there any good one that people should know about? So when they call you, like, hey, you're the guy that did this,
Well, first of all, let me say that there's two guys that were very, very influential.
Right.
Mac O'Grady being number one. Those of you that have heard of Mac, we're all getting to the age where Mac's probably 65 right now.
Yeah, the young guy over here, he wouldn't know what you're talking about.
He is 30-inch waist. The man is incredible and probably the most knowledgeable person over the last 40 years in the golf swing. Incredible. If you Google Mac O'Grady golf, it's just incredible. And I'm in a lot of them.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I've never given away any of the information, but I'm in a fair number of them, kind of on the sidelines so you can hear my voice. And the second one's Mike Bender. Mike Bender is probably as fine a teacher of the fundamentals. Funny, Mike introduced me to Mac O'Grady.
Okay.
Mike worked with Mac in the late 80s, and I came along in 2002 or 3 and went down and worked with Mike, and we got talking about it, and we had some similar connections with people, and he introduced me to Mac. So, but Mike is an unbelievable teacher, and if you go to Mike Bender, there you go, Mike, you get one. Mike Bender on Instagram, you'll notice our teaching is almost similar. Quite frankly, I haven't had a whole lot of original ideas.
Yeah, well,
I just have a good memory, and I have a pretty good eye.
And you know how to explain it. I mean, and you do have a good eye because you just 3 swings. You're like, okay, you did that 3 times in a row.
You asked for a quick story. I'll give you one. It really didn't have to do with golf so much, but Arnold Palmer was a member of mine in Bermuda Dunes.
Okay.
And this was he was the late 60s. Anyway, and a wonderful man, just exactly like you see. There's no
sugar
public and private. That's him.
Yeah.
So he calls the golf shop and he says, Dan, this is AP, and I'm flying in and which meant he was going to land his helicopter on the 16th fairway.
Oh my gosh.
At Bermuda Dunes. So I go out and I go, okay. So I go out and I'm standing on the tee and these fellas, members are driving up. And I said, fellas, we're going to have to hold up for a second. And they were upset. And I said, Palmer's flying in. Oh, okay. No problem. Well, they land the helicopter and he lives right off the 16th fairway. And there's about a 4-foot brick fence there. He waves to the guys like he does, Yeah. He comes trotting over, puts his hands on the wall, and feet go over the wall. And he's in his mid to late 60s at this point.
Wow.
Jumps right over the fence. And I said, that's Arnold Palmer.
No way. That's amazing. And to be just like, hey, I mean, that's his house. It's like
wonderful guy.
That's cool.
Wonderful guy.
Well, I mean, I can't express, how much you've changed my game and built a friendship out of it too.
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's been amazing. So when people want to learn from you, and so you're mainly only in Sarasota and kind of
I'm
Boca.
in Sarasota the vast majority. In the season, I go over to Boca maybe every 2, maybe 3 weeks.
Right.
Depending on my schedule here. I mean, my base is here in Sarasota. Anyone is welcome to call me. I really enjoy teaching amateurs.
Right.
Beginners are welcome. Ladies certainly welcome. And any, the nice thing is there's workarounds to everyone.
Sure.
A lot of people feel like, oh, I'm a little bit older. I'm not going to be able to do this. I have a bad back. I have bad knees. There's workarounds to those things. So, anybody that's in Sarasota that wants to work on their golf game, I would love for them to give me a call.
Okay. And you're mostly Monday through Friday, typically?
Well, in the season, I'm usually here. 6 days, sometimes 7
like January through April.
Yeah, especially if someone's having a problem, they have a tournament, and I'm off. I'll drive over and do. It's only, my lessons are 75 minutes because all the video, as you know.
Yep.
And so I'll drive over and do it. I'm happy to do that.
Right. And then when people call you, you have different package deals, which I love, and you work it out with everybody, and you explain, what are you trying to do, and I just need to work on this one thing. So, but I can't express enough how much it's changed what we do, and now they know how to get a hold of you. We're gonna make sure I have all the contact information.
Sure.
We got a big golf tournament coming up. I wanted you to come to, which I talked about the other day. It's October 21st. It's for feeding little tummies felt, and so I know you're coming out.
We have a complimentary series of lessons.
Yes.
So bid on it.
Yes, exactly. We'll have we'll have that there. I think it's just amazing you're here, and I definitely, as my game gets better, I want to have you back.
Sure.
So we can kind of talk through my game, because I think once you start talking about like you just did, the couple main things that people go through, it starts triggering like, oh, well, I do that. Well, I do that. And then all of a sudden people have questions. So what's nice about your Instagram, they can just go right on there and ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
Say, hey, by the way, I saw you, on the podcast. I had a question about this.
And they're even welcome, just call me.
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell you when we're doing a lesson, I said, listen, if you got a problem, call me, text me, do whatever you need. If someone has a question or they want to get a little more information, they're welcome to it. Happy to do it.
That's great. Well, I mean, if there's not much else, great. You can tell anybody anything you got going on.
I think I'm going to do short game school next Friday, and we'll do it at Serenoa. It'll be about 3 hours.
Okay.
That sounds like a lot, but I only take 6 people, and you get a booklet, you get the video, the before and after, and there's a lot of participation. By the time we do it, everyone's an expert on how to hit shots. Now, they might not be an expert when they do it, but they know what to do. And that's sort of the goal. If you have the information, then it just becomes a matter of repetition and being able to work on it.
And, before we go to that last part, I just did a clinic with you just last week. Yeah. And the thing is it's funny about the clinic is, everybody there had their issues, but you were talking about the same thing. And it was just reiterating what you'd already taught me and stuff. Sure. But it felt different because you got to see somebody else struggling with the same thing you're struggling, so it gave you more confidence. And the one gentleman, you totally changed the swing, and like the taller young man.
Yeah, Christopher.
He just went from boom to boom in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You changed that one main thing, and it really
a lot of that's the barriers.
Right.
They can't do it wrong.
Right.
or they hit them. But that's how you learn it.
Right.
I just had a lesson this morning with a gentleman who I set up the barriers. I made him swing really slow, then a little faster, and he had the unmentionable, the shank.
Yep.
And didn't shank one ball, thank goodness. So
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Well, I would say if you can never get in a clinic with you, that's great, because that gave me more confidence that other people are dealing with the same thing. I mean, you say it, but then you see it, right? You see, wow, that guy just did the same thing I did for a year, and so that helps too. So, but I really appreciate everything you've done for me.
Thanks for having me. I
Yeah,
appreciate
and
it.
we'll do it
Great.
again.
Yeah, I hope so. That'd be great.
It's good.
Thank you.
So, how's that?
So thank you, Dan Malizia, for those helpful hints. And if you need any help, give him a call. And if I can help you in any way with real estate, give me that call, shoot me that text, or shoot me that email. Hey, until next time, have a great day, a wonderful week, and a wonderful year. Thank you so much.